तो दोस्तों हम लोग अभी है शैटो विलेमोरिन के सामने। ये शैटो विलेमोरिन है, मैंने एक मेमोरेला ख़रीदा है। ये बेसिकली चीज़ प्लेटर है जो आप वाइन के साथ सर्व करते हो। और हमारे पीछे है शैटो विलेमोरिन, उसके अंदर आप 1 घंटे का टूर ले सकते हो जो हम अभी लेने वाले हैं। और ये 1 घंटे का टूर चालू होता है 11:30 बजे से और दूसरा 4 बजे से। एक्सक्लूसिव टूर भी है लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली आज एक्सक्लूसिव टूर नहीं है, वो 1.5 घंटे का होता है। एंड देन यू गेट ए लॉट मोर पर्सनलाइज्ड एक्सपीरियंस। बट जो नॉन एक्सक्लूसिव टूर है उसमें भी 10-12 लोग ही रहते हैं आपके साथ, तो इट्स अ नाइस एक्सपीरियंस विल गेट। सो विल गो इनसाइड एंड यू विल have a blast with us.
And we talked, maybe you can come in the shade if you don't want to be in the heat. When you come to Bordeaux and we talk about chateau, don't expect to see medieval castle. That means we also talk about a wine estate. And the word chateau includes different elements in the wine estates. It will include the vineyard, of course. So here we have a small piece of land planted at the front, but the rest of the vineyard was planted all around the building, and we're going to go to the other side in a few seconds. The word chateau also includes the technical parts, which are located in the modern building just behind me here. This building was rebuilt in 2007 by the former owner. But the chateau also includes the house of the wine grower, because most of the time the wine grower lives in the wine estate. And here the house is just behind you here. It was dated from the 19th century. In fact, the estate of Château Vilmorin is quite old, as it was first created in the 17th century. But Château Vilmorin, as we know it now, was mainly dated from the 19th century. So it's a little bit more recent. Here we grow 7 hectares of vines, 18 acres for the ones who count in acres. The 7 hectares were planted all around the building with 80% Merlot and 20% Cabernet Franc. Here we are located on the right bank of Dordogne River, which means here Merlot is king. But as we are still in Bordeaux region, we produce what we call blended wines, which means we work with different grape varieties that will be blended at the end of the aging process. So here at Vilmorin, we work with 80% Merlot and 20% Cabernet Franc. In some other vineyards of Bordeaux region, you can also find Cabernet Sauvignon, which is another grape variety for reds. But here we don't have it. So we're going to walk around the building to see the vines closer, and then I will explain you the vinification process. Please follow me this way. A small part of earth, clay mainly, then all the rest underneath is limestone. And the limestone soil is very good for vines because it works like sponge. It absorbs water from rain and distributes water back to vines whenever they need it. So that's really good soil. This is why most of the wine estates concentrated around the village on this limestone plateau are mainly Grand Cru Classé or first Grand Cru Classé wines. As here in Saint-Emilion, we can find different levels of quality of wine. And the best one is first Grand Cru Classé of Saint-Emilion. And to give you an idea, these wines can cost between 500 euros a bottle up to thousands of euros for one bottle, depending on the rareness and the quality of the vintage. Here we are Grand Cru Classé, so our wines are less expensive. They cost between 30 and 60 euros a bottle, depending on the vintage. Here, before we drink some wine, we have to work in the vineyard all through the year. So the work starts in winter time when we do the first pruning by hand. So we cut all the branches from the farm here, except 2. Like, for example, if you take a look at this vine here, this brown branch and this one here were the ones we kept from last year. So we keep one branch on each side of the plants, okay? And then these are these former branches that will give the new ones. All the branches you can see here, okay? And then leaves, and then grapes. You can see the baby grapes right there. So they're still green, of course. They start to change color in August. So for now they're green, and we have to work on the vines all through the year. So we pull out the leaves around grapes to let berries get turned by the sun. We also make a selection of branches. We also cut some bunches because here we have a maximum yield allowed, that is 50 hectoliters per hectare. We can't produce more, which is a way to regulate the quality of wines produced and sold on the market. So here the average yield of Villemorine is about 40 hectoliters per hectare. And sometimes it can also be much less depending on the weather conditions we had during the year. Because one thing really important to remember is that here we only produce what we grow. So if by any bad luck we would have frost or a disease or hail that would damage the vineyard, too bad for us, but we would have to deal with it. We wouldn't be able to buy grapes coming from other places. So this is why from one year to the other, the yield can vary. Harvest time, it takes place in September, end of September, beginning of October. So of course we don't wake up someday and say, oh, weather is nice, I'm going to harvest. No, we have to check the maturity of grapes first. So we come in on each piece of land. As here we have different pieces of land. They grow all the way until the road you can't see, but it's close to the chateau. You can see at the bottom over there. So all these vines here are checked, which means we pick some berries before the harvest. We taste the berries because tasting is very important. This way we can evaluate the thickness of skins, because as the berries get ripe, the skins get thinner. We also need to taste seeds, because whenever seeds taste like hazelnut, we're happy because we know it's time to harvest. And we also have a small tool that helps us to calculate the density of sugar contained in berries. So all these elements are evaluated, and then we decide of the harvest date. So we pick the grapes by hand, so we have 20 pickers who come here to help. We cut the bunches, we put them in small 10-kilo cases, this way the bunches are not crushed or damaged, and then we bring them to the vat house. I'm going to show you now where we do the sorting and the vinification process. As I told you earlier, this soil is composed, the soil is composed of limestone, so it's very soft stone, very easy to dig or to extract. So for 10 centuries, that is from the 9th up to the 19th century, the locals dug a big network of underground galleries from which they extracted pieces of stones they could use to build the village of Saint-Emilion. So now we have a big underground maze underneath the vines, underneath the village itself, that counts 200 kilometers of underground galleries total. And here at Villemorine, we are no exception, as we have between 21 and 28 hectares of quarries, because the quarries were dug on several levels. So here at Villemorine, we have 3 levels and sometimes 4. We won't go that far, don't worry. But we're going to walk underneath these vines here, and then we will also see the other part of the quarry located at the front, because underneath the piece of land of Merlot planted at the front, we have the wine aging cellar, because the galleries provide perfect conditions for wine aging. So we will see all these galleries here, and if we don't get lost, we have a tasting at the end. So let's imagine harvest time. It's hot, sunny, maybe not as hot as today, but yeah, it's quite hot. And well, we're going to, let's imagine we collected our grapes, and now we're going to produce some good wine in the vat house. Please follow me this way. So whenever
हम अभी है वाइन टूर पे at Villemorine, and be with us as we move.
The guide is explaining to us the process of wine making.
Sorry, we are late.
What is your name?
Vitaly Konzen.
Perfect.
11:30.
Welcome.
Sorry.
Oh, there are also some machines that exist that can allow us to make very strict selection of berries by the density of color, density of sugar, and by the size, because we consider the small berries didn't have time to develop, so there's no chance they had time to get mature. So all these bad berries, thrown away. When I say thrown away, nothing is wasted. They are poured in between each row of vines and they fertilize the soil, and they are used as a natural fertilizer, but we don't produce any wine with them. That's the same thing for the stalks. You know where the stalks are? Yeah. So these crushed to be used as mulch for gardens, but we don't work with them. Okay, we only work with berries. So let me show you the vat house, which is just here.
এখানে বানানো হয়। यहाँ पे वाइन बनता है।
So here, for example, on the wall, you can see some pictures showing the cases we use to collect grapes, the sorting tables, and the giraffe. What we call the giraffe is a long stainless steel tray that will allow us to bring the the berries, by gravity in the vat. Okay, so the berries fall down from the top of the vat. At the entrance of the vat on top, we settle a small machine that will crush the berries a little, just a little, to free the juice in the vat, which was a long time ago done with feet. And then we fill the vat like that. So in the vat, whenever the vat is full, we have juice, skins, and seeds all together in the vat. So at first, we start the vinification process by cooling the vats. So these are made of stainless steel. They are very efficient because they have a double surface, so they are nicely insulated. And here we have stainless steel tubes inside that will regulate the temperature of vats. So at first we cool the vat to get cold maceration. So the temperature will be between 9 and 11 degrees Celsius. So we let the juice, the skins, the seeds macerate all together for about 4 days, and this will give us a good extraction of fruits. Then after 4 days of cold maceration, we warm up the vat slowly to get fermentation done, because with warmth, yeasts located on skins will work and will transform sugar of berries into alcohol. So this is the alcoholic fermentation process. That's how juice becomes wine. And during this process, we also have natural phenomenon that happens. That is, we have some gas that develops in that, and the gas pushes all solid parts to the top. So on top there is the hat composed of skins and seeds, and below we have the juice. And at this level of the winemaking process, we need these two parts to get in contact, to extract from the skins and seeds color, tannins, aromas, structure, well, all the good things that make the wine. So we do pumping overs, which means we plug a tube here, which is connected to a pumping machine. We pump the juice from the lower part of the vat and we transfer it back on top, so that the juice will go back through the skins and seeds, and it will extract the color, the tannins, the structure, all the good things I just mentioned before. So this work is done during 15 days, 3 times a day per vat. But caution, here, see, we have some little tabs on the vats. These are for the cellar master who need to check the evolution of wine by making laboratory tests. So he just extracts some samples from here, makes some laboratory tests, makes some tastings, and then whenever he considers that these pumping overs may not bring enough extraction in the wine, he may decide to do what we call the punching, which means he will use the long stainless steel tool you can see up there, near the window. Can you see it? With this tool, can work by himself. Just have to press some button on the machine, and then the machine will push and immerse skins and seeds from top of the vat to the bottom in the juice. And this will extract, but in a stronger way, the color, the tannins, the aromas, and so on. Once the fermentation process is over, we let everything macerate, hot temperature this time, for about a few days, which means the wine spends about 1 month in these vats. Then we do the running off. We evacuate the juice, free-range juice. We transfer it in another cellar where wine is poured in oak barrels for aging. Meanwhile, skins and seeds that remain in the vats are not thrown away. They are pressed with the big machine you can see here, which is a pneumatic press. So inside this part of the machine, we put the skins and seeds, and there is some kind of a balloon in the machine that will stretch with pressure, and it will press the skins and seeds to collect here some other juice we call pressing wine. So we have free-range juice, pressing wine, from different pieces of land and different grape varieties of the wine estate that are vinified separately in different vats and aged separately in different oak barrels. Then, all through the aging that lasts 18 months in the oak barrels, we will extract different samples from the different wines produced. We taste them. We make notes to characteristics of each of them. We make small blendings with them in different samples, different proportions. And then we choose one blend that is done for real at the end of the aging process. That is, after 18 months in oak barrels, we transfer the wine back in the big vats, Where we do the final blend, we will then separate two different qualities of wine, Grand Cru, second label wine, and Grand Cru Classé, first label wine. And then we bottle the wine right here in the vat house. You would have come 2 days ago, not yesterday, but the day before. That was the bottling that was happening. We have bottled the 2020 vintage, because here it takes us almost 2 years to produce one vintage. Of course, on the label, the vintage 2020 is mentioned, not 2022, even though the bottling took place in that period, okay? Because that's always the date of the harvest that is mentioned. Because for us, the vintage, the year, is very important, because it will just underline all the weather conditions we had during that year that made the wine what it is. Okay. And it's very important to us to work each piece of land separately in different vats and in different barrels, because the Merlot planted behind the building will not necessarily give the same type of wine as the Merlot planted at the front. Because the soil may be slightly different, the age of vines can be different, the exposition of vines to the sun can be different too, so in the end the wine will be different. So that's what we call the terroir. We have different terroirs in the wine estate, and we work them separately to do the best blend we can at the end of the aging process. Okay. Is it clear enough? Yes. Do you understand my French accent?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that okay? You tell me if you don't, don't hesitate. So, here we are in the first wine aging cellar of Château Villemorin. We have two different wines. But the wine spends the first 6 months of its aging in this cellar, because here we can control the temperature of the room, which is not the case downstairs, where the temperature is natural and it is constant all through the year. But during the first period of the aging process, we need to control the temperature of the cellar, because we have second fermentation that happens in barrels that we call malolactic fermentation process, which, just to sum up, allows wine to lose its acidity. It's natural phenomenon, which means it doesn't happen at the same time from one barrel to the other. So we extract samples, we make some laboratory tests, because this oil is not necessarily noticeable when tasting, you can't feel it, so we have to make laboratory tests. As you can see also, we are aging our wines in new oak barrels mainly, because the purpose of aging wine in oak barrels is that we have an exchange of aromas between the oak and the wine. So if you keep the barrels too long, no more exchange, and less complexity given to the wine. So as here we are Grand Cru Classé, our goal is more to produce complex wines. So we only keep the barrels for 2 years, and then we resell them to other wine estates, to whiskey distilleries, to private customers. Well, they have second life, but not here. We also work with different coopers. See, the names you can see here on the barrels are the names of the barrel makers, of the coopers. Okay? By working with different coopers, we will add to the complexity of wine, because each cooper may work with the same type of oak, may use the same kind of heat when they make the barrel, but they have their own savoir-faire, as we say in French, know-how. So they can bring different things to the oak and then to the wine. And the cellar master meets the coopers very often, so they can talk about what can be improved on the oak and then on the wine. So it's real teamwork. Here we don't have the whole production, that is, we have one vat full, because we are now transferring these barrels to the underground cellar. So we are in transition. So you will see you can see some barrels here, and you will see some in the underground cellar too. The second label wine we produce is also aged in oak barrels, but we have another cellar for them. So this is what we call the potential Grand Cru Classé wine that hasn't been blended yet, but these barrels are supposed to be full with the Grand Cru Classé. So we were in some place that was built. Now I'm going to take you to some place that was dug in the limestone. So it's going to get even cooler, or maybe the same about the same temperature. So.
हम लोग अभी सेलर के अंदर जा रहे हैं. ये नेचुरल सेलर है प्राइम इंक्वायरी के अंदर. এটাতেই নিতে হবে।
So here the quarries are quite recent, as they were dug in the 16th century. I say recent because underneath the village, some galleries were dug since the 9th century. And they were dug at first for the stone, not to be used as wine aging cellar, because wine was already produced in that period in Saint-Emilion. But the thing is, in that period, the wine couldn't be kept for long, because the wine growers didn't know how to age it. They didn't have enough technology to preserve the wine, so the wine had to be drunk right away. Okay? So at first, the galleries were dug for the stone. So please follow me this way. It's always straight ahead, and there are no steps. It may be a little bit steep, but no hurry. Yeah?
हम लोग अभी धीरे धीरे वाइन सेलर के अंदर जा रहे हैं। ये 1600 शताब्दी में बना हुआ वाइन सेलर है। जो हमारे जो गाइड मैम हैं उनके हिसाब से ये काफ़ी नया वाइन सेलर है, क्योंकि गांव के अंदर काफ़ी वाइन सेलर है, रादर क्वेरीज है जो अभी वाइन सेलर के हिसाब से यूज़ होता है। पहले क्वेरिंग के लिए यूज़ होता था लाइमस्टोन में। तो उनकी उम्र है कुछ 1100 साल के। तो ये कुछ 500 साल पुराना वाइन सेलर है। यहाँ पे 1100-1200 साल पुराना भी वाइन सेलर पाया जाता है। यहाँ बाहर अभी टेम्परेचर 39-40 डिग्री है, अंदर ये नेचुरली कूल्ड है, तो यहाँ पे टेम्परेचर बहुत ठंडा हो जाता है। अभी जो फीलिंग है वो 15-16 डिग्री का है।
So as you can see here, some part of the cellar is empty because we had the 2020 still aging in the oak barrels right there. But as we have bottled the wine now, this part is waiting for the 2021 we saw upstairs to be transferred. We have already started here on this side. Please follow me. So the barrels we can see here are full. Full is 2021. So this wine will be bottled next year in 23, sorry. 23, yes. And here wine is aging in perfect and natural conditions. Temperature is natural, there's no air conditioning here. It doesn't go further than 14 degrees Celsius, even during the hottest days of summer. And you can see it now, you can imagine how it is. Because today is pretty hot outside. So yes, good temperature. We also have good amount of humidity, as we have 80% of humidity in this cellar, which means we have, during the aging process, less evaporation of wine, because as you may know, wine naturally evaporates from the barrel, which is what we call the angel's share, the part for the angels. Well, here we're selfish, we don't want to share. So we keep the wine here, this way we have less evaporation of wine, because there's such a good amount of humidity, and then less refillings to do, because as wine evaporates from the barrels, the wine growers need to refill the barrels to avoid oxidation of wine. Because if wine is in contact with air in the barrel, it will oxidate and then turn into vinegar, which would be a pity for a Grand Cru Classé. So here we refill the barrels, but not as often as in a regular cellar. We have also experienced another type of aging with these two amphoras we purchased for the 2019 vintage. Compared to the aging in oak barrels, we don't have any exchange between the terracotta and the wine. No exchange at all. On the contrary, we will preserve the fruits of great varieties. So whenever, at the end of the aging process, we blend the wine aged in oak barrels with the wine aged in amphoras, this will add to the complexity of the final wine. We will balance a little bit the extraction that can be done with the oak barrels. So here, perfect conditions. The wine ages for 18 months in oak barrels. And then after 18 months, we transfer the wine upstairs where we do the final blend and the bottling. And here we produce two wines, Grand Cru Classé and Grand Cru, which represent 40,000 bottles a year total. All these wines are mainly sold abroad as we export 70% of our production. But of course, we keep some here as we welcome visitors. We also have a shop and we sell directly from the wine estate. So as I said earlier, this place wasn't dug to be used as wine aging cellar. It was really dug for the stone because the village needed stone to develop. And the city of Bordeaux, have you been to Bordeaux city? Yes? So if you've been to Bordeaux city and if you have seen the village of Saint-Emilion, you may have noticed that the buildings have the same color of stone. And because they come from the same place, these stones come from the same place, and especially in Saint-Emilion. So this is why this big network was dug. And we're going to walk a little bit in the gallery so I can talk to you about the work of the quarrymen here, because it was done by hand, of course.
तो अभी हम लोग जो बाहर रास्ते से हम लोग घूम रहे थे उसके नीचे से ये सेलर्स है और ये क्वेरी सब डाक किया हुआ था.
See some bottles. These are the 2020 vintage. We just did the bottle yesterday and the day before. So we have stored the bottles here, and whenever we store the wine in the quarries, we don't label it. Okay, we only fill the bottles, top the bottles, and that's all. We put the labels on whenever we have to ship the wine, because if we label the wine here in these quarries with the humidity, no more label after a few months. So no, we just label the wine once we are sure that the wine has to be shipped. Please follow me this way.
हम अभी स्टोन क्वेरी के अंदर से जा रहे हैं. ये नेचुरल क्वेरी है, नेचुरल इन द सेंस के फॉर बिल्डिंग हाउसेस ये क्वेरी डाक किया गया था 1600 शताब्दी में.
Do you remember how many kilometers of quarries we have here?
200 kilometers.
200, perfect. So 200 kilometers, that means it's a big network, okay? So these galleries needed to be aerated. This is why the quarrymen dug air wells, just like the one here you have above your head. You can come closer if you want. So many air wells like this one were dug in the quarries of Saint-Emilion. So on top, whenever you walk around in the vineyards, and you can see in the middle of vines a roof of a house, but on the ground, that means we have underground galleries underneath. Okay, these are air wells. They were also a way for the quarrymen to evacuate pieces of stone straight up. So be careful, madam, I don't want to blind you. Just behind you here, we have a picture showing a winch system that was moved by horse. It was just settled at the entrance of the well. And then the quarrymen could lift up the pieces of stones and didn't have to walk long distances in quarries transporting pieces of stones. Because whenever they dug the galleries, they didn't pay attention to the limits of the estates above, so one gallery could be dug underneath several estates. It could be very long. Okay. So that was a shortcut. That was a way to go directly up. Let's go a little bit further. As we turn right, we'll be underneath the vines we saw behind the building. So here you can see quarrymen at work. These people had very efficient method to dig the stone as they used this tool here. With this quarryman's pick, they could dig some deep lines in the limestone working place, as you can see right there. Mm-hmm. So they dug horizontal lines and then vertical lines, and then in the corners, they could insert their iron and wooden tools, which gave pressure on the stone and could break it very easily, and they could go on digging whenever necessary. So they always dug the upper part of the working place first to evacuate the pieces of stone located in the lower part very easily. And the thing is, here they dug a lot, especially in the 18th century, when Bordeaux city became rich. The city wanted to show the richness by building beautiful town mansions, houses, monuments, and so on. So here we provided pieces of stones to the city of Bordeaux, but without paying attention to the safety of quarries. So people dug so much that at some point they fragilized the soil and some galleries collapsed. So since 1870, it is forbidden to dig in the quarries of Saint-Emilion. No more quarrying operations. So then people tried to find other uses. So some of them were used as mushroom growings. Some others were used as shelters. One of the former owners of Château Villemorine used these galleries to organize big parties here. So it had enough space because, as you can see over there, it continues. Of course, we have to close some parts of the quarries, and some fences were added because, as we're connected with the neighbor, we don't want him to come in our quarry. So yeah, we have to close them. Yeah. So but very, very big and empty galleries now. And this is why, as these galleries provide perfect conditions, we chose to use a small part of these galleries as a wine aging cellar. We're going to taste the wine now. Do you have questions? Clear enough? So, enough talking. Let's have a tasting, mesdames, messieurs. The wine, because you know the owners own several wine estates in Saint-Emilion all around Villemorine. We have one a few meters away, just behind the house over there, that is called, not this house, but just a few meters away behind. We have Château Sout-Arcadet, which is a very, very tiny wine estate, as it's less than 3 hectares big. And there we produce 2 wines, Sout-Arcadet and La Cuvée Victoire. And this is the wine, it's a Saint-Emilion Grand Cru, and that's the wine I wanted you to taste because it's nice, especially for this weather. That is, red wine sometimes can be quite heavy, so in summertime when it's pretty hot, difficult. So this one is very nice because you can drink it a little bit cooler, and it's a very easy drinking, very fruity. That's some wine you can enjoy for any occasion, for aperitif, for, you know, with a barbecue, meat cooked on barbecue, with cheese, charcuterie as we say in French. And it's good value. It's 18 euros 50, which is good value for a Saint-Emilion Grand Cru, as they cost normally between 15 and 30 euros a bottle. So we're going to taste this one, a little bit cooler, and you'll see it's nice. And then we'll taste the Grand Cru Classé in 2017 vintage, which is also a vintage that is nice to enjoy now, and not too heavy, so also good, you know, because whenever you make some barbecue with a beef steak, you can't tell me you drink white wine with this. You have to drink red. So, voilà. So this wine, this vintage is perfect for summer, as a summer wine, you know, very nice. Alors, first we start with Sout-Arcadet. Everybody taste, right? Sorry. Please hold the glass. Help yourself. Voilà, please have a glass. So this is Sout-Arcadet, Cuvée Victoire, Saint-Emilion Grand Cru 2018. So same owners, not the same wine estate, but same owners, and same philosophy of work, same team. So everything is done by hand. It's a small gem, less than 3 hectares big. It's 2 hectares 80, something like that. So very, very tiny cuvée. So you know how to taste the wine? First you have to take a look at the color, okay? So to see the color, you just incline your glass on a white background like this. And here on the edge, you can see the color of the wine. The darker the color is, the younger is the wine. The darker, the younger. So for red wines, it starts from black up to purple, violet, red, ruby, garnet, and so on. And as wine is getting older, it has more amber, brown, or brick color. So that's the first step of the wine tasting process, as a professional, I mean. So, first step, the color. Second step, make the experiment to smell the wine once without aeration. So you just smell it. You try for a few seconds to memorize what you just smelled. And then you swirl the wine in the glass for a few seconds. smell again? Second nose.
It's different.
Smells different. Exactly. Just because you swirl the wine in the glass, you just let the wine breathe and the aromas come out. So in wine, you can find different kinds of aromas. You can find fruity aromas, spicy aromas, mineral aromas, vegetal aromas. The goal is to try to recognize these aromas. So of course here, this wine is a blend of 90% Merlot, 10% Cabernet Franc. The Merlot is a great variety that brings lots of roundness to the wine, and mainly the fruits. Red fruits aromas. So when you can smell, with Merlot, you can smell raspberry, strawberry, or cherry. See, this type of red fruits aromas. We also have some Cabernet. Cabernet, we will also feel these fruity flavors. But also, as the Cabernet has more tannins, it will bring the structure to the wine and the potential to the wine. Okay. So this wine is 2018. It's beautiful vintage. In the last 20 years in Bordeaux region, we had 2000, 2005, 2009, 2010, 2015, 2016, and 2018. These were exceptional vintages. So of course, maybe more expensive than other vintages. Also because price of bottles are defined by the quality of the vintage. So this wine is starting to get mature. Of course, it has enough freshness to be kept longer. But still, as it is very easy drinking, this is some wine you can enjoy now. So don't hesitate to swirl the wine in a glass and then pour the wine on your palate. See how it behaves. Is it nice? Is it smooth? Is it well balanced? Do you still find the same aromas on the smell and on the palate? Does wine have long persistence on the palate? Well, in one word, you just enjoy the wine. See, we can feel the fruits. We have also licorice that comes out. A little bit of oak, but very nicely melted. It's not too heavy. It's not predominant. And yeah, lots of flavors. A little bit of freshness at the end. That is normal. That's because this is because the wine can be kept much longer. You can keep this wine for about 15 years, so that leaves time to drink. Yeah?
It's nice at this temperature as well. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And it's refreshing. It's not too heavy. And for me, this wine, perfect for a barbecue or with as the Spanish say, tapas. You know, aperitif with tapas. It's perfect. It's perfect. For me, it's what I call in French le vin des copains. So that's the wine for friends. That is, this is the wine I open when I have friends at home. I want to keep them, to have the aperitif and so on. I open some bottle of wine that is good but not too fancy. So that easy drinking and not too fancy. So this wine is €18.50 a bottle. Just close because
if you store wine, how often should you change the cork?
We don't change it.
You don't change it?
No.
Really?
No, for this type of wine that lasts 15 years, you don't change the cork.
And if you store it?
Lay down.
Lay down.
Always.
Touching the cork or not touching?
Yes, of course. You have to keep the bottle laid down.
Okay.
This way the cork is moistured by the humidity, by the wine.
Okay.
Because otherwise the cork gets dry and then it's spoiled. Yeah, it will have some default and then the wine will be oxidated and spoiled.
Okay.
So no, you have to keep the bottles laid down. Tools at your disposal, but if you want to finish, take your time, no hurry. So this one is the Grand Cru Classé, Château Villemorine, 2017 Grand Cru Classé. 2017 was a special year in Bordeaux because we had some episode of frost. in Bordeaux in general. Here at Villemorine, we got lucky because we are located on the heights of the limestone plateau of Saint-Emilion, so we are completely sheltered by the heights. Most of the time, the wine estates that suffer from frost are the ones located on the slopes or below. So here, as we're on the heights, we didn't get any frost, and furthermore, the berries we collected in 2017 were ripe and beautiful. So we had beautiful vintage, not as concentrated as the 16 or an 18, of course, which were exceptional vintages because we had more sun in these for these vintages, but still very nice vintage. And as I said earlier, it's early vintage. So good thing about this one, you can drink earlier.